Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I'm going to be doing what if the UK decides to form an empire. So the UK already formed an empire a while ago, but but it already dissolved whenever World War II already ended. So let's just say, what if the UK decides that they want to reunite their empire? So they send any ultimatum over to Ireland, requesting for their entire territory, and then they refuse. So they declare war on the Irish, and then from here they start advancing their troops south, and then eventually they already captured Dublin, then eventually Ireland falls, and then the next thing you know, Ireland is now British. So with this, they decide that they would want to, like, instead of just going into random, or you know what, I think that they should, they're probably gonna go after Africa first. So so they're gonna want their old colonies back, which is a lot of countries in Africa. So the first thing that they're gonna be doing is that they're gonna be going after Egypt. So they start to sailing down, and then going through Gibraltar, and then through the Mediterranean, and then soon they're at the coast of Egypt, and then eventually they start invading the country. And then we see some random British troops entering the country, already threatening Cairo, and eventually it's captured. And then the Egyptians declare war, but they're already weak with the capital already captured. So, with a little bit more time of advancing, yeah, eventually the Egyptians surrender. And then, since they're there, they could just automatically start going down all the way to the bottom. So, they declare war on Sudan. So again, they start marching down, and then eventually their coast is gone. And basically, if their coast is gone, they're basically yeah. And then South Sudan automatically surrenders, and then let's just say that Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Botswana, South Africa, uh, Eswatini, and Lesotho already surrenders. So yeah, just to make things quicker. So with this, let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, and the other countries have been fully annexed by Britain. Oh, and I also forgot Malawi. But anyways, these countries have been fully annexed by the British, and now they're fully under the British crown. Is that how it's called? I don't know. But wait, oh, okay. So what today decided to do next is that today we want to get their colonies back from America, and then that's in the New World. So with them deciding to go after South America, since they only have one colony, and I think this is Guyana. Let me check. Yeah, Guyana. So they declare war on Guyana, and then they start advancing their troops down into the coast, and then eventually, yeah, basically they're gone, and then they're next. So with this, they start doing some island hopping around the Caribbean and capturing other islands, and then they decide to start going after some harder opponents, which is now in North America, now Canada. They could. Canada is a little bit easier since I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, let's just get on with it. So basically, they start putting some troops into this island. I think this is Newfoundland. So, and then the UK goes over to the French, saying that they could have Quebec if they could help out. So, with France now joining, and we also see that Quebec also wants to be separated from Canada. So, with this, Quebec now declares its independence. I don't know if this is the right mapping, most likely not, but let's just say that it is. This is Quebec, and they're now a UK ally. And then with this, yeah, basically Canada sees this and is outraged, and then they declare war on Quebec. And then eventually they realize that the British are landing right there in Newfoundland. So with that, Canada also declares war on the UK, which means France also declared war against Canada. So with the Canadians now having to fight like in a three country war, I mean, I don't know. Okay, never mind. Let's just say that Canada eventually gets this part. Yeah, this part already loses Quebec, and then they start advancing, capturing Ottawa, and then pretty much yeah, Canada surrenders, and then eventually Quebec falls over to the French. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that Quebec has been annexed by the French, and the UK has turned the rest of Canada into a colony. So the Americans sees this, and then they decide to declare war on the British. So whenever the UK sees this, they decide to go over to Russia and then ask if they could attack them, and then if they do, then they would be able to reclaim Alaska. So with the Russians now joining the war against the Americans, they start landing near Alaska, making the Americans having to focus more on the Russians since they don't want them there more than the British, probably. So, as we see Alaska being closed in by the Russians right here, we also see the British moving into Alaska. Soon they meet up with the Russians and then start pushing them down. And then eventually, Juneau falls, and then they start to centering their troops down into the continental United States. And then they start advancing, capturing Olympia, and then capturing Helena, Bismarck, and then St. Paul. I think that's the wrong capital for the state. And then there goes Madison, Michigan, the Great Lakes, Albany, Augusta, and Rhode Island, New York City, Washington, D.C., and then with a few more capturing. We also see Salem gone, then going into California, and then eventually America surrenders. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that America is split into two. The British having from Maine to the southern part of Michigan, and from there all the way down to Florida. So bringing back the 13 colonies. And then the rest of the United States from Michigan to Louisiana all the way to the west has been turned into a puppet state as a buffer zone between them and Mexico. And then as the UK promised Russia, Russia has now annexed the entirety of Alaska. And then for Hawaii, basically, let's just say, yeah, Hawaii has sunk into the ocean. So the British decides to go on a rampage, trying to get its older colonies back, managing to capture more islands, and then soon capturing Belize, Jamaica, and then they decide to go over to more in Africa, capturing Nigeria and hold on, I forgot the country. Ghana. There is Sierra Leone. I think Liberia. I don't know, but I'll just say let's just put it into a puppet state for now. But after a few more colonizations in Africa, they tried to go more in Asia, and then which they are able to capture. Uh, I think they had Israel, and they also had Jordan, Iraq, Kuwait, and Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Oman, and then split Yemen into two. And then for now reforming northern and southern Yemen. So, with the northern now becoming a puppet state and the southern and a colony, yeah, basically the UK is now pretty much powerful at this point. But let's see how this goes. So, after a few more capturing some islands, they decide to go over here and then they start landing in southern Pakistan. And then, but the Pakistanis already know that the British are coming. Basically, they're still advancing a lot without them knowing, but then eventually, they are cut off from the coast, and then the Pakistanis declare war on the British. And then eventually, yeah, with them already threatening their capital, they pretty much collapse the country. And then, after a few months, they start heading down and then declaring war on India. Soon, capturing Kashmir and then going down, soon threatening Delhi. And then, after that, Delhi is captured, and then India surrenders. And then, since, yeah, Bangladesh and Myanmar. I don't think Nepal and Bhutan were in there. I don't know, but let's just say the British already captured them. And then they managed to capture some islands off of here, capturing Hong Kong as well. And then they start heading down into Southeast Asia, soon capturing Malaysia and Brunei. And then eventually they start heading more south. Eventually, that's where they meet with Australia and New Zealand. And then, yeah, let's just say after a few hard battles, they eventually collapse altogether. And then they manage to get Papua New Guinea and then a few more islands. So, with that, yeah, we basically see the British Empire back at its peak. And then eventually, they, yeah, they fully get next. If I could get it in. And then, yeah, at this point, let's just, yeah, everything is now a colony of the British. So, yeah, I guess everyone now speaks English. Everyone is drinking tea, whatever. And yeah, I guess this is the British Empire now at its past peak. And yeah, hopefully y'all liked the video, and I'll see you on the next one.